Welcome to my 100th video here on the Sports Card Professor. I'm Darren, and I wanted to do something different for this video, in part because the 100th video was going to land as a box review and I just didn't think that was right, but also because it's been 100 videos. Obviously it's been a little bit over a year. It's been 13 and a half months, and I wanted to sit back and kind of take stock of the last year in terms of just talking about the videos, the content, the production, all of that kind of stuff, and to give a big thanks to all of you guys for viewing. When I started this out, I did not expect to be rich and famous. I didn't want to be rich and famous. I'm actually an extremely shy person, and it took a while to get used to talking in front of a camera, putting that out there to the public. And obviously I'm not the only person, but that's been a big aspect of this, which is you got to start off with, well, why would I even do this? But for me, the importance of providing this kind of information just overrode everything else. It needed to be out there. Nobody else was doing it, so I was definitely gonna tackle this. And it took a little while to get used to the whole process, etc. And it's been good in that regard. It's gone well. I've learned a lot as I've gone along, but I do have to say that right now, as I'm making this video, I'm hovering around 400. It's interesting when it's one here, one there, you actually get to see that it increases and then it decreases. So there's always this fluctuation that goes on. So I'm around 400 subscribers right now as I make this video. And it's been interesting to go through the emotional struggle, because most of these videos are a lot of production work. It's usually about 15 hours of production time, not including all the research, all the preparation that goes into it before then. And so that's a lot of work to put in. It's basically a full-time job on top of the full-time job that I have in order to pay for all of this. And there's kind of got to be a reward at some point where you feel like, okay, all this work is really getting out there and it's becoming used. There are a lot of people that use it, but it's still a very small core group that really takes advantage of it. And I am years away at this point from getting to the point where this could even start to make any money. So it's the struggle is not about making money. The struggle is about plugging through this, just all the incredible amount of expense, tens of thousands of dollars that go into just being able to create this content and to provide it. And there's an emotional reward that hasn't yet hit. I don't know when it will hit, what it will be like when it does hit, but it does wear on you after a while. So I'm doing pretty good because I do enjoy this. Basically, I haven't collected in about a year and a half. I've been entirely focused on this. My collecting has shifted over to this project, which is it's an evolution that has been a lot of fun to explore. I'm learning a lot. I'm almost entirely football. I did a lot of basketball early on when I could afford it. Can't afford that stuff anymore. And with baseball, I always understood baseball, but I just never really collected it. But like with hockey, that is a brand new frontier. That is something that I'm exploring for the first time. And so it's like being in the early 90s, just discovering everything. I still don't like the sport, but as far as collecting goes, it's a lot of fun to discover it. And then golf and racing, these are sports that I have collected in the past. And so I've got a good understanding of those. So I have I have a good knowledge base, and I have a lot of the pieces, but there's so much that I have to acquire, and that is a fun process to go through, and that is basically what this has all evolved into. It's been a process of learning and discovery, and this is a really good replacement to the actual collecting that I've always done in the past. But also the amount of knowledge that I'm gaining in all these little places, even beyond the normal collecting that I was doing, has been a wonderful treat as well. So this is a great process for me to go through, and I'm glad that I'm able to do it. And so far the emotions and the finances have held up. So I'm doing pretty well in that regard. As far as the production goes, though, it is a lot of work that goes into each production. So it's about 15 hours for each one of these videos. That's kind of the rule of thumb. The box reviews take a couple hours, so it's about 20 hours of actual production time every week to be able to create the 2 videos that I do. When I do a 3rd video, that's additional time on top of that. And that involves things like creating the slides. I start off with scripts. So when you first create a video, you've got to figure out, number one, what's the content? What are you talking about? Some people just want to ramble, but most people want to actually talk about something. So once you've got that out of the way, then the next question is, okay, how are you going to talk about it? Are you just going to talk off the top of your head? Are you going to read a script? Are you going to memorize something? In my case, I cannot read a script because it sounds like I'm reading. It's terrible. So teleprompters are not an option for me. I tried memorization, and for memorizing, I'm so busy trying to remember the words I got to remember that I can't speak. So instead, I have to speak naturally. And that is the first challenge in terms of getting ready for these videos is, as I prepare the videos, I start off by creating a pile of cards with all the examples. So this is a pile of cards that does two purposes. One, it has the cards I'm going to photograph. Two, it is the whole script, as it were, of cards. So I sit here. This particular pile is from the most recent video that I uploaded, which is Topps Finest football. And so I have here on the top the 3 cards from 1992, and I'm able to first start off with the Neil Anderson card. So with this card, I'm talking more about the fact that this is kind of like a test set. It's a specialty set that was created. I don't think I got into talking about the textures on the cards, which is, well, I guess I kind of did at the checklist. But I talk a little bit about that, and then I mentioned about that there's a rookie. There are rookies in the set, and then I talk a little bit about the checklist card itself with all the refractive surface qualities that it has, and then I talk about the 1994 cards, the regular card. I talk about the refractor card. I talk about the rookies card, which aren't rookies in 94, and I just go through all this. And what I do is I just go through it and go through it, and I go through it to such an extent that I know all of this stuff, but I'm not used to talking about it on a constant basis. So I get so used to going through talking about all this stuff that it's all readily available in my head. It's ready to just pour through it. And then I sit down and I keep this card's sitting right here. And I go through it kind of keeping track. Now this is a big pile of 5,000 count boxes, and on top of it I have the surface where I photograph the cards, and I use it as kind of a shelf here next to the seat that I presented, because I have no room here. I mean, this is not a set. This is just a corner of my room. I took some flashlights down from back there, put the Wheaties box, etc. up, but everything's just kind of nestled in. And so I keep this here next to me as I go through so that I can keep track and make sure that I talk about everything. But it's a matter of getting so used to the subject of the particular video that I'm doing that I can sit here, look straight at the camera, and just talk about each one of the cards, and just talk about it in a very casual way. And I do a single take. I don't go through and patch together a bunch of different little pieces here and there. The reason that I do that is because every time that you get the camera up or down, or the lights change, or even the way that your voice changes through each presentation. I start off really strong and kind of hot, and then I ease into a more general speech pattern, and then it fluctuates as you go through. If you're taking multiple takes, it's really alarming because the camera shifts around, the lighting may look a little bit different, my hat may change, which these are things that can throw you off, but mainly the way that the sound comes across is kind of jarring. So it's a lot better to just do a single take and then snip out little pieces here and there. And if I do make a mistake that I've got to clean up, I can hopefully find the word or the phrase somewhere else and move it over and replace it, so that at least it's all in the single take. But I do a single take, and then I take out all the awkward pauses, all the messed up sentences, all the times when I turn and I consult the pile here. All of that stuff I take out so that it's one clean presentation that keeps you engaged. Otherwise, it gets pretty hairy. And every once in a while, I'll leave something of the mistakes in. But for the most part, I try to keep it out. And even here, you're noticing the little clips here and there that are a lot less frequent in this because I'm speaking more naturally, which is a big help. But it is a single take. And I'm normally taking 4 to 6 minutes out of each video. So if the video is, say, 22 minutes long, I probably did about 28 to 29 minutes of time in front of the camera. If it's 13 minutes long, I did 15, maybe 16 minutes of time in front of the camera. So it's important to me to be able to hit all of those points in one, because I want this to be as close to professional as I possibly can get away with. And it is a little bit difficult to to pull that off, but I've gotten so used to it over time that it's going pretty well. I'd like for it to be better, but I mean, for what I'm doing, I think that this is shockingly impressive. It really is a patch together affair though, because I photograph cards here. I figured out how in Photoshop to make them look really clean, but I can't do motion. If I do motion, then it looks really awkward. It's kind of jarring to my eye. I know that to most audiences it doesn't, but I originally, in my first video in Topps Gold Label, I did do motion, and that is a video I've got to go back and redo in order to clean it up and make it look good. But until I figure out how to do motion is an important part of that video. So there's really kind of no way around that. And so once I figure out how to get that seamlessly fit into the rest, then I'll be able to pull it off. But I don't want this to look like some guy who woke up in the morning, sitting on the side of his bed and is just talking to you. I want this to actually look like it's a meaningful effort that had a lot of work put into it, because it had a lot of work put into it. I am constantly doing research as much as I can, gathering together all the pieces, and so I want it to be videos that are worth the work that was put in. And I also want for audiences to sit down and just feel comfortable with the content. Not like, why am I watching? I don't ever want anybody to think, why am I watching it, except for how dry the content is, because the content is very dry. It's very niche for audiences, and even within this there are people who prefer the baseball or prefer the football, prefer the basketball. You're going to have that, and so this is very much focused on those individuals. But I don't want people to get any more bored than you already are from my own speaking. So I'm trying to keep them pretty professional. So I go through the deck of cards and I make sure that I've got it down. And then I sit here, I do the presentation, and then I photograph the cards. And in Photoshop, I edit the photos from those cards, and then I do the editing. And I was asked a question back in like January, and every once in a while YouTube will give you this comment that they don't allow you to actually access, which is kind of annoying. So this has been sitting on my head for the last 9 months, which is, somebody asked me, are all these cards from your collection? For the most part, yeah, they are. They're not necessarily from my original collection. In fact, I would say most of the cards that you see are not from well, at this point, most of the football cards are, most of the basketball cards are, most of the baseball cards, but I'm shifting over to where more of the cards are cards that I've been acquiring for creating the presentations. So as a collector, I collect sets and I collect teams. And as a team collector, well, as a set collector, you're able to get pretty close, but the problem is there are too many cards to get. As a team collector, you're able to really focus in and make sure that you get all of the different variations and all the inserts. But very rarely does a team show up in all the subsets and all the insert sets. So that means you've got to have a hybrid between them. And so I'm constantly getting cards to fill in the gaps of all these different videos. And that's why the videos come out kind of sporadically, because this is when I get each one of these videos done. And for instance, back when I started, I had a couple of sets that were either done or just like 1 or 2 cards shy. And one of those sets, 2005 Upper Deck Mini Jersey Football, is still sitting there. It's 1 card shy. It's been that way the whole time. It's actually the autographed jersey. And I've seen the basketball ones come up, I've seen the baseball ones, and I've seen the hockey ones come up. I've never seen one of the football autograph jerseys ever be available in any way. The only way I know that they truly exist is because one time in a Google search I saw that somebody had one of those photographed. That's the only way that I've been able to find it. So until I get one of those, I can't do the video. I'm not going to use that guy's image. I need to wait until I can actually get, even if I'm photographing somebody else's, as long as it's my own photograph, I'm okay with it. I really work hard to avoid using somebody else's image. That is the absolute last resort. And there are a number of videos sitting around that I'm not doing because I'm not getting that one image. So I try to get my hands on every single card if I can, or every single card that I show to you. I am more likely to just kind of skip over a card. Like recently I did a video on Pinnacle football cards. And in that, I just offhandedly referred to a Franco Harris, Eric Lindros card that I don't know if I'll ever be able to get a hold of that card. And so even though I got the Franco Harris autograph card, the one with Eric Lindros, I just kind of shot past it and went, "Nah, I'm not going to worry about it." So I gave reference to it, which got it into the video, but I didn't bother to go out and try to get an image to stick it up there because I really don't think it's right to do that. But that does mean that I have to either get a copy of every single card, or if I can pull it off, sometimes I'll make a Photoshop adjustment on a card. There's a video coming up which is going to be of 95 Skybox Football, and in that they have a set called Pay Dirt. And I had almost all the copies of the Pay Dirt card, the different colors, except for one. And so I got a card with the purple color and of a different player, and then I used, in Photoshop, I matched the tones up. So I was able to get that last card in there, and because I got the tone right, the card is valid. So there's nothing wrong with that. But that's a tricky aspect of working on these videos, is how long do you have to wait trying to get all these cards until you can either do the video or give up and find a workaround. And currently I'm, for the most part, able to actually get all the cards for these videos, but that makes it extremely expensive, and now I have a ton of cards I don't need and I don't really care about per se. It's fine, it's fun to do, but that's kind of what this has evolved into, is I've got to be able to get my hands on every single card, and not just for any like copyrights or any morality tale. I got to understand these cards. So for instance, here, excuse me, here in Finest is there's a landmark set which uses actual bronze for the card. So I had to get one of these cards. So now I have it. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. It's a cool card to have. I love having it. But I actually needed to get my hands on it in order to understand the card, understand that it is an enamel inset, that on the back it's just the metal treatment, understand the weight of these things because they are super heavy, as you can see. I've got to know this stuff. So that is a big part of it, which is, yes, these are in my collection now. But prior to that, no. So I'm constantly trying to fill in all the gaps. So that's an important aspect. I'm able to photograph them and then do my own processing, my own editing. So everything that you see in the video, I've done, all the way down to the slides. So it's a lot of fun to work on this, but it is a lot of work, and you can kind of get burnt out. For the most part, I've been holding up pretty well, so that's pretty good. But I've also got to have a really good job in place to do this. So as far as the space goes, I'm using little nooks and crannies that I can. If you ever watch a box review, you'll notice that, kind of like here, all these piles are live. These piles change over time. Around the box review, there are some piles of cards. The reason they're there is because there's no other place for me to put them. Right now, right in the middle area, I have a bunch of piles of cards. Next time I do a box review, I'm going to move those over to where I eat, so that I have the space. And then once I'm done filming, then I move it away, back over to the box review area, so that I can eat. It's piles of cards everywhere. If somebody broke in here, it would take them hours to find things that would be worthwhile, because it is just staging and staging and staging. Everywhere you look around here are cards, there are binders, there's piles of cards. I stack cards like that so that I have multiple piles in the same spot. It's crazy, it's fun, it's magnificent, it is a big mess, and so far it's been well worth it. Now, I did not expect to become rich and famous. I didn't want to expect to be rich and famous, but I didn't expect to be this. I expect to be further along in terms of, I understand that there's not a natural audience for this because nobody does this. This is not a YouTube genre. This is so niche that the audience for this channel doesn't know that it exists. Every once in a while somebody stumbles upon it, and I'm glad when they do. It is a long wait until we finally get to the point where enough people watch it. But being only at about 400 subscribers here, 13 months in, 100 videos in, and most of those videos are full-blown production videos, is it wears on you after a while. So I'm looking forward to it increasing, but it is a bit of a slog. So I am extremely appreciative of all of you guys who have discovered it, who are following along with these videos. And I do want to give one individual shout out to, my apologies for my pronunciation. I'm not sure what you intended when you created the name, but Dialon Thug, I believe you were my first subscriber on this channel. So it's always fun to see your name pop up, simply because there's that continuity. It's like that old friend from grade school that pops up, where there's this feeling of, oh yeah, you were here with me from the beginning. So it's always fun. But for all of you guys, I'm so grateful for all of you being involved, following along. If you guys have some ideas for stuff I can work on, let me know. I'll see what I can work with. I've got a few ideas I'm playing around with already, but it is fun to do that. I'm all for constructive criticism. I don't like snippy criticism, but for constructive criticism, I'm all for that. Again, it has to do with what I can work with, because I'm not making money on this. I am spending tens of thousands of dollars just to be able to create these videos. So I have my limitations. I have time limitations, etc. But I do want to figure out better ways to make the videos as I go along. So definitely let me know about that. Again and again and again, thank you guys for following along on these videos. For the subscriptions, for the time, all of that stuff is really wonderful. And I created it not for financial rewards. I did it because as a collector, I needed this, and I felt that you guys needed it too. And so what I'm grateful for is the fact that it is being used, because that's what I created these for. I created these to be used, and you are. So thank you very much for that. And I look forward to hitting 200 videos, which will probably happen before 2 years at the rate things are going. But it's fun, and I'm looking forward to what's coming up. So yeah, stay tuned and enjoy the videos.